Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tablas Creek Instagram Live conversation. I'm your host, proprietor Jason Haas. My guest this week is one of my favorite social media follows. She's a great writer, an advocate, founder, entrepreneur, editor, super cool. This is Devin Parr, who I can't wait for you to meet. But as I always do, while we're waiting for people to join, I want to share a couple pictures of what we have going on at the winery. And I do want to put a little bit of this in context. I'm sitting inside, which I hardly ever do. I don't like to do these tastings inside because this is very likely to be the hottest day of the year. Certainly going to be the hottest day of harvest, we think. So it's scorching. It's like 106 today. And luckily this is the peak. It's supposed to break after this, but it does mean that things are really speeding up. Okay. So a few pictures. So first of all, just a look at what the crush pad looked like earlier this morning. So we have Grenache coming in from everywhere. We've got Grenache coming in for Patelin Rosé. We've got Grenache coming in for Patelin Red. We've got Grenache coming in off of 3 separate blocks from the estate. So this is Grenache week. We harvested some Grenache Blanc. We've had some Syrah, some Roussanne, some other stuff. The harvest chalkboard is starting to fill up. So, hold on, I have a picture of that. There it is. So you can see we're not a long way in. There we've got, 15 or so lots in. Doesn't include what we brought in today. But it's building. We're maybe 20% of the way in, but it's going to come fast over the next week. We are keeping everybody up to date with what we have going on. This is Chelsea updating the chalkboard we have in our tasting room. If you come out for a visit, you'll get to learn a little bit about what we're working on that particular day, this week, and of course, see harvest. Recommend it. And if you do get out into the vineyard, and again, it will be cooler than this, it's gorgeous out there. So give you a little sense of what things look like. There's this kind of pretty scene where grapes are mostly ripe and sort of hanging attractively on the vines. This is a Counoise block. Show you a couple of close-ups of some of the varieties. This is a great example of Grenache. I think we're going to do a social media post on this. You can see the one green berry down at the bottom amidst everything else that's ready. I feel like there's a caption contest in there. What else is looking good? We've got Marsanne, which is looking gorgeous. It's one of the varieties that seems particularly happy this year. We have Syrah. That's getting close. We brought in some Syrah from off the property. We haven't actually brought in any estate Syrah yet, but it's getting close. You can see those classic kind of conical Syrah clusters. Okay, maybe one more photo. We get a picture of some Counoise. So it's a good idea of Counoise. So you can see, even though we're harvesting, there are some things that are still finishing up veraison. We're going to be a while, but it's starting to come quick. Okay, that is my update for what we're doing here. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to invite Devin to join, and again, I can't wait for you to meet her. And hopefully this all works as smoothly as it did when we did our test yesterday. Remarkable. Hey, Devin, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you? I just saw Madeline Puck is also going live. I got a notification. I'm like, is everybody going live right now? And are we competing?
Ooh, I don't know if I can really compete with Madeline. She's
I know.
she's
She's
kind
pretty
of
good.
amazing.
But that was a lot of really fun grape porn that you were just showing. Those are good looking grapes.
It is the time of year where I go out to the vineyard trying to take all of these representative pictures of what's going on and come back with an entire phone of Grenache clusters because they
Yeah,
are so beautiful.
they're gorgeous. Although the Syrah looks really nice too.
Sorrel looks great too. The whites are looking beautiful. I mean, it's whatever. It's the time of year when you want to be out in a vineyard because everything looks great.
Except for the fact that it's 1 million degrees, at least here where I am. So,
Yeah, you want to be out in the vineyard at 7:30 in the morning and then safely inside in the air conditioning after that.
yeah.
Awesome. So I'm not sure if you were on already at the very beginning where I gave a super quick introduction to you, but For those who are watching, my guest is Devin Parr, writer, brand advocate, educator, founder, editor-in-chief of the Vintners Project, and one of my favorite social media follows. So, welcome, Devin.
Hi, I'm like so touched that you asked me to be here because I am a major fangirl of you, of Tablas Creek, and yeah, it's absolutely my pleasure.
Awesome. Cool. So I want to start at the beginning. So if I'm right, you grew up in Canada, yes?
Born in Toronto and then moved to New York City where I finished out high school, and then I went to UC San Diego. So that brought me to Southern California and launched like my love affair with California.
Was wine on your family table growing up? How did you come to it?
Oh yeah, we were one of those like we may as well have been Italian. We're not Italian. But my stepfather, I mean, I come from a long line of really good drinkers, like good Canadian firefighters, all just drinking, not wine though. But it like drinking was like a big part of our lives. And my mom remarried in my early teens, and my stepfather was like a big, big wine enthusiast. So he gradually started pouring me little sips here and there from about 14 on. And at first, I would roll my eyes. Like I remember sitting in a restaurant watching him do the whole like swirl and sniff and the ritual, and I was like, "That's a load of garbage. That means nothing. Like it all tastes the same." And like, look where I am now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I see both sides of that. I remember, I mean, my dad was a wine importer, so I grew up with a family in the business,
Yeah, you.
and I remember like watching my parents talk about wine and thinking like I will never be able to do that. Like I cannot even imagine doing that. And now it flips around. Like I have kids who are now 19 and 21, and watching them go from I don't get it, it all just tastes like wine to oh, I'm starting to get it. Like has been really fascinating.
Yeah, no, totally. My kids, they're not quite as old, but they do like to smell and yeah, they've officially learned how to pour for me too, which is like
Good. It's
as
very
a
important.
parent, you have arrived when they can pour you a glass of wine. But I
Awesome.
did think it was a crock of garbage growing up, like being around the ritual. And I mean, if we're being honest, and I can say this, I'm a wine person, like wine people can be really annoying. But yeah, I mean, I find myself like aerating water now when I sip it. It's like old habits die hard.
We got called in to our so Eli, who's now 21, when he was 2, he was at daycare, and we got called in by the teachers when we went to pick him up one day, and they said, "So, like, we just want to make sure this is okay with you, and if it's not, like, it's totally fine. We'll put a stop to it, but we think it's cute, but we're not sure." So when Eli and his friends get their drinks for snack, they hold up their sippy cups and go, "Cheers!" And like, we think it's adorable, but if you're not okay with it, we'll stop it. And we're like, he's a wine kid. There's
That's
like
cool.
all of his friends are also wine kids. We live in Paso Robles. It's awesome.
Totally. Love it. Starting young.
So, so you started in the video game industry, not in wine, like out of college, right?
Yeah, I right out of college, my major was actually political science and economics, which like as we all know, like what do you do with that? And my original intention was to go to law school. And funny story, I was actually standing in the backyard of my parents' house at like 18, whatever, however old you are when you graduate. And I was watching my mom repot some herbs, and I just burst into tears. And she was like, "What is wrong?" I was like, "If I go to law school, I'm never going to garden." And it's like, I didn't garden growing up. I had no interest in garden, and I still don't garden. Like, I kill every plant. But for some reason, this was like this moment of clarity of like, I'm not going to law school. So I got the first job that was probably offered to me in the video game industry doing public relations for video game companies. And worked for some of the big guys, Xbox, Microsoft, Bethesda Softworks, if you're familiar with them,
Yep.
if you're a gamer, and loved it. Loved the industry, really smart people, really cool events, but my heart was just kind of in like food. And I wanted to go to culinary school actually. So I was researching all these culinary schools. At the same time, I read a book called Heat by Bill Buford, which is, if you haven't read it, it's an amazing book, and it just paints this picture of like a culinary life in Italy. So it's like, okay, fuck it. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear here, but
You
quit my
can. This is
job.
totally. You're. I can say anything you like.
quit my job, found a culinary school in Florence, Italy, and just upped and moved there. And I was taking a few of the cooking classes and taking some wine classes on the side just to see
Right.
what it was about, and just fell hardcore in love with wine and the storytelling and the history and like this full sensory exploration. And that really was the start of it.
Did uh, did you have like an aha wine?
An aha wine. I had a moment. I was at Castello di Fontarugoli in Tuscany, and we were doing this side by side comparison of Sangiovese um, from like different plots within the same vineyard, and they were all completely different. And it just completely blew my mind in terms of what like different exposure, different, like a tiny little microclimate happening in
Yeah.
this one same vineyard, like how that could impact what's in your glass. And um, I think that was really the moment that opened my eyes to just how incredible this industry is and the possibilities that can happen in a glass just based on any number of factors.
Cool. So okay, so you're in Florence. How did you make your way back to America and back into like the business side of wine here?
Well, it was like one too many 3 hour lunches and like aperitivos and 5 in the morning going out drinking and just I was like, I'm in my late 20s. I should probably get on with my life and like do something that doesn't involve a 3 hour lunch. Which is funny because wine involves a lot of 3 hour
Yeah.
lunches. Um, so I finished up the whole wine expertise program, got my certification there. And then it was time to come back to the US. And I was at the time living in LA when I came back, because when I was in the video game industry, I was in LA. And I was looking for jobs. I was offered a job by Alyssa Rapp from Bottle Notes, and I turned it down. And she's one of my favorite humans. She's not in wine anymore, but if you know her, like old school wine people will know her. But I turned it down, and I took a job working for Vinifera Imports in New York City. I wanted to go back to New York where I graduated high school. I wanted to like
Right.
really live there as an adult. And so I took a job. Dominic Notarino gave me my first gig. I had no sales experience. And I was there schlepping my little wine bag up and down the subway stairs in New York City, working with a really high-end Italian book, and just hearing no literally all day long by like grouchy old Italian men. Um, so I did that for like a year, and then I was like, ugh. And I just wanted to be on the other side where I was saying no. So I got a job working in wine retail. And I kind of worked my way up in wine retail, ended up a buyer, a wine director, and a GM for some like high-end wine stores in New York City.
Right.
And did a brief detour in tea. It's a totally like a story for many drinks, and it was really like traumatizing for me. But I worked for David's Tea actually. Um, and then wanted to move back to California. I was getting married. I did one too many like walking in the rain in Manhattan where your umbrella blows inside out and carrying grocery bags and just like can't get a cab. And I was like, I need to leave. Wanted to have kids at some point, didn't want to do it in New York City. So ended up getting a job actually again with Alyssa Rapp, who'd offered me that first job. Her company Bottle Notes was like booming at the time. And so she brought me out as a program director there. And that's when I kind of switched over to the media side in wine, which was amazing.
Cool. Yeah, let's talk about writing. Like I've seen your work in like Forbes, VinePair, Food and Wine, Chowhound, Wine Enthusiast, and I'm sure I'm missing some. Um, what was your entry point into writing about wine? And do you remember what your first article was that you wrote?
It's funny, I actually do. I was working for Bottle Notes, and they had a newsletter that had like hundreds of thousands of like it was crazy.
Mhm.
Called the Daily Sip, and that was their sort of editorial platform. And at one point, I think Alyssa just like sent me on a press trip because no one else could go, and it was to Lodi. And I learned about the Lodi Rules program there for the
Right.
first time. And I was doing this like crazy Zin tasting where I was tasting like hundreds of samples of just like straight Zin, like purple teeth, like wine. It was so gnarly. And like that, like learning how they picked the best, I don't know, it was like a crazy program, but I did that and then wrote about it for the Daily Sip. So that was like my very first sort of editorial assignment, if you
Uh-huh.
will. I mean, I was blogging while I was in Italy and sending all these like crazy stories of my life. And But yeah, that was my first article. And then from there, I was sent on a press trip to Spain, which was insane. And these were the days where they would like fly you business class, and like it was like whole nine yards. Many years ago, they don't do that anymore. And it was incredible, but it was like my first drinking from the fire hose, like international press trip. I just had my first kid. It was like 2014. And it was like morning until night, just crazy. I still laugh about that trip. A few wine people that you would know were on it. Crazy stories. But yeah, that was like really the first part of it. And then we sold bottle notes. I helped transition it, and then ended up working in Temecula Valley as like a marketing consultant or director of marketing for Visit Temecula Valley, and then went out on my own. But I've been writing ever since. Never wanted to be a writer, but here we are, and I love it.
Well, so I mean, this is not a. It's not easy to be a writer about anything right now. And wine, where there are like you can count the number of in-house like newspaper jobs on one hand. There's
Yeah.
obviously there's some like review publications. Like, um, what's it like choosing wine writing as a career? I mean, I know that's not all you do. You do lots of other stuff, but like that's got to be it's got to be hard at this particular moment.
I mean, I look at the people who do it only. I have immense respect for them because it's hustle. It's very freelancer driven, as I'm sure you
Right.
know, and so you're not just taking assignments and writing them. It's like you're pitching constantly. So it's basically like a PR job again. You're pitching these stories, and the people who can make a living off it, I like it's incredible. I travel with some of them, and they're literally on the bus, like winding through the hills of Chianti, writing on their laptops. Like, I don't know how they're not barfing and car sick, but cranking out stories, and it's a grind. So, I mean, I couldn't, I'm too attached to my writing too. Like, it takes me forever to write a story. I'm just not good at the crank. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't think I could make a living just doing it, and it's really unfortunate because I love great wine writing. I love great writing,
Right.
period. I'm like a serial reader, and yeah, it's I have to balance my life with other work. But I'm also greedy in that I want my hands in everything in wine. Like I cannot say no to things. Um, it's just a cool industry, and I want to be part of all of it.
Yeah. No, it is such a cool industry. Um, one of the things I love about what I get to do is that it's like so varied from the production side of things to the management side of things to the promotional and sales and writing and like all of these different pieces. It's like it's endless.
Yeah, it truly is like storytelling and art and science and agriculture and sensory. Like I don't know, it's just there's a lot of really cool stories and cool people and cool aspects.
So that sort of leads me to another question I wanted to ask. Like, what is it about a story, like a wine story, that appeals to you?
It's funny you say that. I've led marketing sessions on like how to talk about your brand or your winery or who you are without sounding like literally everyone else. And like, yeah, there's a ton of sustainability stories and a lot of family owned wineries and a lot of wineries who are doing cool things with offbeat grapes. And it's the same sort of five stories over and over again. But the thing that makes them interesting is the people and the personalities. I love people who push the envelope truly and like are doing. I just wrote a story on colostrum soda that's obviously not wine related. It's a beverage brand though, and it's just like I was like, who's putting colostrum in a soda and thinking like, yeah, I want to drink breast milk. But it was interesting to me, like people are doing unique things and it's not just the same story. So I want to hear those. Like I want to know who's thinking outside the box, who's
Yeah,
using weird inspirations for their products, or I don't know. There's a lot out there.
there is. Wait, do you have a favorite story you've ever written, like along those lines?
Favorite story I've ever written? Probably, I think I talked to you about this story, and it's not necessarily that offbeat, but it was the 10 wines that changed the world that I wrote for
Yeah,
Forbes. And it wasn't the obvious ones. It wasn't like Petrus, and it was just wines that really defined categories and
yeah,
pushed the envelope and that were unexpected. You and I talked about Randall Graham and
yep.
that influence on the Road Rangers movement and you guys. So I was really proud of that piece, and
Yeah.
I've written controversial stories about like, can we stop hating on influencers and, in defense of drinking. Like, I'll always stand by those because I think we need to talk more about wine, not less, and
Yep.
not gatekeep in any way. So, yeah, I'll always run my mouth about controversial topics.
Okay. So one of the threads in what you've done, sounds like pretty much like not maybe not quite as soon as you go back to California, but pretty shortly thereafter, is you've continued to be an advocate for Temecula. And I'd love you to share a thing or two that you wish everybody knew about Temecula, but they probably don't.
Thing or two. Number one, it's like the most accessible wine region. One of them, I would argue, in the country, if not globally. We are like smack in the middle of Southern California, within a 1 to 2 hour drive of like every major city and market in Southern California. So it's like an easy day trip from LA, San Diego, Orange County,
Yep.
Riverside, Palm Springs. But number two, speaking of offbeat grapes, there's really just this incredible sense of experimentation in the region. It's a Mediterranean, like warm Mediterranean climate that people think is too hot, but we're actually really similar to areas like Paso or parts of Napa Valley. But we're growing really cool grapes, and because it's primarily a direct-to-consumer region, we're not beholden to wholesale market factors. So we really can create cool wines and try new things and make offbeat blends that I think consumers are really craving now. We don't want same old, same old. We want to be surprised and delighted with every wine club shipment or whatever's new on the tasting list at a given moment. So I just think there's this really amazing energy and spirit of experimentation that's happening here that I'm really proud of, and I want people to come experience it. I'm here. I will host you. I will take you around personally. Share my favorites. It's a great place.
Be careful what you offer.
Yeah, I know, right? Everyone's like, "Hello, you said."
Cool. Um, so one of the things I think that one of the things that you do that I think is particularly cool is your work as co-founder and editor in chief at the Vintners Project.
Yeah,
Sorry, the Vintner Project, not the Vintners Project.
just one.
Um, can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I was brought in 2022 by my co-founders, Kirill and Nelson, and the goal was to really tell these unfiltered stories in the wine industry that weren't being told elsewhere. It actually reminds me of Temecula in that the Bitter Project isn't as beholden to advertising forces as I think many media outlets can be, for better or for worse. And so it's a really lean operation, but we have over 100 incredible contributors. So some of the best wine writers write for Vintner Project, and they do it for passion. Like, it's not a top paying publication because we're so independent and lean, but it means we can tell these stories that no one else is telling. We have the freedom to cover things that maybe aren't as marquee or glamorous as other outlets might cover, but that are really getting at the heart and soul of the wine industry. And so we're really proud of the group of contributors we've managed to build since we launched in 2019 and I came on board in 2022. Our social media is really cool. It reminds me of the stuff you do, where it's like really showing that fun, nitty gritty side of farming and winemaking, and like some funny stuff as well, of course. But yeah, it's a great community, really loyal contributors, loyal readers and followers, and love it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think it's great. That's one of the places that like I end up on a lot because it's not just oh, that's a nice picture, or oh, that's isn't that nice.
Yeah.
You get deep enough to make me at least want to dive in.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's not and I've written my share of like how to pair wine and Halloween candy. Like, don't get me wrong, I write those stories, but it's not the place for that.
Right. So I mentioned in the promotion and the lead up to this, and I think at the beginning that you are one of my favorite social media follows, and I think that's because you share so much of your life. It's not just your work. It's not just one aspect, and it feels kind of um, real, like authentic. It's not sanitized. I think a lot of people have this sort of like, official public profile, and then they have their own personal self. And I think one of the things that's appealing is like I feel like I'm sort of inside your life a lot when you're talking about it, from family to work to extracurricular stuff. And I, I, I just would love you to talk a little bit, because it's clearly a choice that you're making to share to share things that feel real and are real.
Oh my gosh, I could cry from you saying that. It really means the world to me because, yeah, I think I sacrifice follower count for that. I made a choice to keep it me. And I remember early on putting it out there, like, do you guys want me to stay in my lane? And I'm the SoCal wine gal. Like, do you want me to just do wine or stay away from karate, stay away from hockey, stay away from my kids, stay away from my dogs? And everyone was like, absolutely not. I don't want to have to filter. I don't want to have to be like, that's off brand for me. Um, Off brand for me would be like being super brand forward. It's just not who I am. And the influencers that I love the most are the ones I love as people, not the ones I love for what they're touting. I really want to know the person, and I want to see who their kids are, and I want to see them like farting around with no makeup on. Not that I do that very often, like getting up there, but and I do love a great filter. But yeah, we are more than our jobs. We are more than the industry we work in, and I want to see that. So I hope people want to see that for me. And like my kids are freaking hilarious, my dogs are ridiculous, and my life is often super chaotic. So why not show that? It's easier than just drinking my way through it.
Yeah, I love embracing the chaos, because life is like that. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you have role models who you look to, either for like your writing life or for like the kind of public facing social media life, who you particularly admire?
Oh, I mean, I always, I know this is like a, bad back patting fest right here, but like, I always sing your praises in terms of how you've taken something as like potentially dry as farming and agriculture and made it like funny and interesting and cool. And so I look to you a lot for taking dry subjects and making them really interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, because I like farming can be boring. And I think a lot of people really fail to I don't know, show the joy and beauty of it. I mentioned from a business perspective, Alyssa Rapp, I will always look to her as someone who truly mentored me as a woman in business and a wine professional. Someone I follow religiously on social media, and she's not in wine, it's the Bird's Papaya. Her name is Sarah Landry, and I've watched her go from like, the six-figure follower count all the way up to like she's in the millions now. And she was someone who was always just really real and shared those aspects of her life that weren't always pretty. And I really appreciated it. And I think it's kind of been a touchstone in terms of like how I want to show up for people. So,
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
You've mentioned, I can't remember where I read this, but I remember you saying that you found some surprising um, echoes or similarities between working in the video game world and working in wine. And I was wondering if you could share what a few of those are.
Well, there's a geeky quality to video games, obviously. And I see a lot of that in wine. Like people love to geek out over grapes and aromas that they're smelling. Like if you've ever judged a wine competition and you sit at a table listening to people, you're like, oh my God, these people are really into this. I'm like, wow. Like I can't imagine using the term petrichor ever, but like that gets thrown around like nobody's business at a wine judging table. Um, so there's like a nerdy factor, like people get really into it. There's like a fandom that I think is really cool about wine. Like people look at certain winemakers. I would include you as a personality in wine that people really do like hold up here. And yeah, there's like this sort of like celebrity quality to video game makers, people who do voiceovers in video games. There's that element that I love that also applies to wine.
Celebrity among a very narrow slice of the public, like.
Right? It works. And I would also say that like really annoying wine people are right up there with really annoying video games.
Awesome.
The budgets are way bigger in video games. I
Yeah.
will say that.
Yes, I'm sure they are. Okay. So sort of looking forward, are there any like new or fun projects you're working on or about to start that you can share?
Yeah, well, I don't know what I can share, but so I have been over the last couple of years working on these really cool, immersive wine and food travel experiences that are open to consumers. A fellow journalist friend of mine, Mandy Robertson, and I, we were on these press trips together, and we're like, we're getting to do these really cool things that are not open to like the average consumer. And so we were like, how do we build something that makes that happen for these people? And so we've been working on these really cool wine trips called Unwind, and we're launching a lower tier one called Uncorked, and then we're expanding to new markets in the next couple of years, which is really exciting. Obviously looking forward to Unified Wine and Grape Symposium in January, still on the planning committee for that. So lots of really cool programming happening there. And then I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to. I landed a book deal.
Hey,
It's really cool.
congratulations.
It's a travel guide focusing on West Coast wine regions, and that is slated to come out in 2028. So I'm kind of in the thick of writing that right now. But
That's so exciting.
it's been on my
I remember
bucket
I remember
list.
reading at some point you saying that someday you wanted to write a book. So how cool.
Bucket list. It's not like the memoir that I wanted to write, but that's down the line. Let's
It's
get
time
this
for that.
get this one done first.
Um, cool. So I cannot believe that it has been half an hour.
I feel
This
like I could sit here all day. We just need a glass now.
we do need a glass. Like my water and your water bottle are really
My
not
water
too bad
bottle,
if we.
and then I have like some zero proof wine samples I was sent. So like, always love the zero proof category, but that's not going to do it either.
But I would love you to share, like, if people want to follow you or see the work that you've done or keep up with what you're doing, like, what's the right way for people to follow you?
Yeah, at the SoCal Wine Gal is where I pretty much put everything, whether it's, my dog's vomiting on the couch, getting my ass kicked in karate or whatever, like, or my wine life and travels. That's really where I put pretty much all of it. I have a website, devinparr.com. That's more businessy. And generally I can be found at most wine things running my mouth.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, Devin, like, what a pleasure. Thank you for taking a chunk out of your Wednesday afternoon. I'm super excited for the book and to keep following all the great stuff you're doing.
Oh my God, so much fun. What a perfect way to spend my afternoon. Thank you
Excellent.
so much, Jason. Seriously, awesome.
Man, you're so welcome. So everybody who watched, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And if you are in the business and you are in the middle of harvest, good luck. Um,
Yes, good
if
luck.
you are in California and you're in the heat wave, stay cool.
Good
Um,
luck.
and I'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Thanks again, Devin.
Thanks, Jason.